Welcome to Distorted Realities. Here are your hosts, J Rock and Frank Walls.
Hey folks, this is J Rock and Frank Walls. Welcome to Distorted Realities, episode 9.
Finally, right?
Yes,
Good,
episode
good.
9. So, um, how was the week?
My week has been crazy, crazy, crazy. I got pulled over by the cops. You name it. But I'm
Wow.
here. I'm here.
We are here. We are here today. We are here today, hopefully, to entertain you, give you some information that you might find entertaining and useful. Um, Last week was a little chaotic, right? Uh, we had some audio issues, right? I guess I need to speak a little bit on this. We're fairly new to this podcasting bid. Um, and as we progress, we try to make it more engaging and more insightful, and we try to put new technology components in it. And it ends up being that it doesn't always fare well, right? It's challenging. Hopefully, we figured it out, and you guys can hear everything clearly, and the audio sounds a lot better. Every now and then, you might hear a bark. That's our dog Rambo.
Rambo.
That he gets excited and he'll make a sound. But outside of that, we should be pretty good.
Yeah, and shout out to the Orange County Sheriff that let me go with a warning. That's it.
So with that, right, we just want to apologize for the inconvenience. We had two great interviews that didn't pan out the way we wanted to. However, we appreciate their calling in.
Oh, yeah.
And giving us information. We did reschedule with one. The other one will do another segue where we talk about cryptids in Puerto Rico because there's tons of them
A
out
lot of
there
them,
apparently.
a lot of them.
So outside of that, it's time to start the show.
Yes, bring it on.
So first things first, if you have a story to tell and you want to share it with us, whether it be through the Sunday 5 p.m. session or the Friday night podcast, which is all audio, you can send us a email with your information at contact@thedistortedrealities.com. Again, contact@thedistortedrealities.com. All right. So next thing, if you like the merch that we're wearing, so this one is Chupacabra.
Chupacabra in the
Right?
house.
This is the first version, by the way. First version. You can go to the Printify store. And as you can see on the top of the screen is https://distorted-realities-shop.printify.me/products.
This is a Mexican version, right?
Yeah, that's
Out of
that's
America.
it's not the Puerto Rican version. But yeah, so there's different iterations of the shirts, different variations, different colors, different sizes. There's also coffee, there's also cups, and other resources that we have there for you to enjoy.
Here.
Okay. We have something new, right? Our supporters have been growing. We're getting viewership. We're getting a lot of positive responses, feedback, constructive feedback, and I think it's great. And to turn that around, we want to present a fan of the week, right? So
Yep.
our very first fan of the week is none other than Joel.
Joel.
Haley from Florida, and as you can see, he purchased the Goatman T-shirt, long sleeve shirt, and then he also has J Rock and Frank
Yes,
Walls
the two
lose
of
their
us.
shit in
Yeah.
the glitch
Right there.
shirt. Yeah, so thank you so much, Joel, for being an avid supporter, an avid fan of the show, and
Thank you.
keep watching, and hopefully we keep you entertained.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so it's time for Cryptid Discoveries.
Cryptids. Let's bring out
Cryptids.
those cryptids.
But before we do that,
Yes.
let's open up the lines. As you can see, we now have the lines open.
Mhm.
You can call that number 904-803-7327. If you have a story to tell, you want to give us a shout out, you want to give us your opinion on a specific cryptid or ask questions, feel free to call. So we're going to keep that there at the moment, and we're going to just jump to the cryptid segment.
Shout out to Jacob in the chat. Hey, how you doing? What up?
All right, Jacob, thank you. So without further ado, cryptid discoveries. All right, so cryptid discoveries, right? This one was this week's search for cryptids was interesting because I wanted to touch on the podcast, which we're going to talk about the werewolf legend,
werewolf.
right? We're going to talk a little bit about the lore behind it, the history,
Gotcha.
LSD tripping, people who believe they turned into werewolves in the 1970s.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, this is crazy.
Wow.
But the cool part is that there is a wolf in Kentucky,
Oh, really?
right? But it's not your standard wolf.
I thought
right?
there was only horses in
Uh,
Kentucky.
Yeah, no, there's wild horses, but this one is pretty cool, and I like the name. Right, it's very catchy. It is called the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes. Let's do that again. Hold on.
Wow.
Hold on.
The beast of the land between the lakes.
In a little howl. It's good. All right, so a little bit about this beast. It decided originally in Kentucky, said to be a human shapeshifter. There are reports of attacks and just sightings. They're driving in the road and they see this humanoid wolf-like creature. Now, I modeled the image, which is generated through AI, based on the descriptions that I gathered,
Better.
and I did some prompting, and that's what I got.
Wow.
There are different variants of it and different explanations, but what drove me to this is that it is part of Native American lore, right? So it is possible that this is something that's really tied into that culture.
Could be
Um,
they call them family spirits, something like that.
Yes, the familiar spirits.
Yeah, something
So
like that.
so for those of you who don't know, a familiar, right, is typically a spirit entity that's correlated to an animal, or once human is correlated to an animal, and it still has to serve a purpose in order to move forward. So it just is trapped in that specific, I guess, body type or form, and that's how it's manifested and presented. So yeah. So this is the Beast of the Land Between Lakes. So what I like about it is I love werewolves. I actually love werewolves more than vampires.
Yeah, I think they're cooler. don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, vampires always get like the upper hand. Twilight and all the glow, glitter and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about werewolves that I always found intriguing because it's always tied to a curse,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, a lot of the times people go in and they look at it and it's like, wow, but why is that person cursed? Well, if you watch the podcast at 7 o'clock, I'll tell you. so yeah, so it's a very interesting beast.
I think I'm turning into one.
I am one.
After 40, I got hair.
Carry my back. I'm a werewolf.
So yeah, interesting cryptid. Is it believable? I don't know. I mean, you have Bigfoot sightings and aliens. Why isn't like I think about like dire wolves, right? These are ginormous prehistoric not werewolves, but wolves that they were massive,
They
right?
were bigger than the normal wolf.
Yeah, they were bigger than normal wolves. So, in my opinion, I think it's a more viable, more believable thing than a whole bunch of little green men,
Gotcha.
right? So, yeah, I think it's a great cryptid. I like it. Anybody in the chat?
Yeah, I got Noel Castro Jr. reading from New York.
All right,
Hey.
Noel Castro.
What up,
Shout
what
out.
up?
Thank you. All right, so yeah, so let's move on to the video. Let's check it out, and I hope you guys like it.
Bring it on.
The beast of the land between the lakes. In the woods and nearby towns of Kentucky lies a man with the ability to shapeshift into a werewolf. Rumors of attacks by nearby town folks have been reported. This creature stands on both feet like a humanoid and looks like a werewolf. Be sure to keep your windows closed at night, or the beast of the land between the lakes will get you.
Sure was, but not as nice as this one. I love this cryptid. It's and again, we do one stateside. Typically, we do. So let's just go to the screen here. So typically, when we research cryptids, we like to vary it, right? So lately, we've been doing a lot of like the South American cryptids, specifically Puerto Rico, Venezuela. But this one goes back to the boot, right? Indonesia. But it's different, right? It has a different makeup, and some of these things are culturally tied to different gods and entities and things of that nature. So I really found enjoyment in this one. So let's go back to our next slide, which is the Genderuo. Genderuo, right? It's kind of like a weird way to like just pronounce it, because I think gender, right?
Yeah, I think he's Genderuo.
So yeah. So what do you got on it? I'll give you my depiction on it. So
I mean, it's cool when we have different cryptids from different countries, like you said, and I think it's very nice to have we do some research here and there from different like we did the mapping Wari that's from Brazil, right?
right.
We did La Ciguapa from Santo Domingo, El Silbón from Venezuela.
Right.
So we go all over, but we have a lot in the U.S. We can just do all the shows with the cryptids that we have in the U.S., but we like to go outside of the U.S. That way we can, compare here and there and have different informations about it.
Right. So the Genderuo, right? Indonesian origins from Java.
Java, Indonesia.
Java, Indonesia. Now the cool thing about it is this is more like a Bigfoot type creature, right? However, it can grow. So it has like a humanoid like form, and then it has this giant form that's like ape-like, right? It's described as humanoid, slender, with red hair, has tusk-like teeth. Sometimes it can have black hair, and it can just it could grow and expand itself to a bigger proportion, right?
I got here that says it's a mythical creature from Java, Indonesia, described as a reddish or black-skinned hairy humanoid with large and muscular body. Within Javanese mythology, this creature is said to be supernatural in nature, with the ability to disappear and appear at will or transform into humans. Wow.
Right. So
kind of like a skinwalker, right?
no,
Like
this is actually a ghost.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's the entity appears like a Bigfoot,
okay.
but in reality, it's more like a ghost,
Like a ghost.
right? But the thing is that it has an affinity for women, Indonesian women,
Wow.
right? And basically, it hypnotizes the men to lure their women. It's considered a fertility god in some cases. So it was one of those like, wow, it's a for all intents and purposes, it's a hideous creature, right?
Yeah.
But people actually adore this. They have adoration for this particular
Wow.
entity. It's not one of those monsters that creep at night and assault you or attack you. This is more of a spiritual entity.
There's like a cult behind it.
Yeah, not a cult, more like, you know how some religions they have like deities that they believe in, and each one,
Gotcha.
or like in the pantheon of Greek mythology, right?
Yeah.
Like each person had a gift for
Yeah.
human civilization.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of like the same thing in Indonesian culture. They have statues of it in temples and stuff like that. From what the research I've done, but
Wow.
very interesting. However, if you look at the picture, it looks nothing like a deity or a god
No.
or something that I
Very
would
ugly.
turn around to. But yeah. So during the rule, the other thing that I found about it, just so before we move forward, this particular entity likes to be in dark, humid spaces and in empty, I guess, vicinities, right? So it was just another little point that was there. Not a lot to go on it, but Indonesian has some very interesting cryptids.
Oh yeah. They got
You
the,
know, I mean, I like this one better than the boot.
the boot.
The boot.
In the good or in the boot?
Boots. So yeah. So without further ado, we're gonna jump onto the video.
Let's watch this, guys. Enjoy.
The Genderuo. A creature covered in red hair and tusk-like teeth roams the Indonesian forest and temples of Java. The Genderuwo is said to have the ability to transform from a small humanoid-like creature to a giant ape-like monster. It is also said to have hypnotic powers and is attracted to the female Indonesian species. Some revere him as a god of fertility, while others think it's a spirit creature. Steer clear from a dark, humid place, or the Genderuwo will gladly make your acquaintance.
So, what do you make of the video?
Very nice. It's
S-
a huge creature.
Yeah. So you saw at the very end, there are some ties to the elephant. From what I was reading, like it has the elephant tusk, it has the ears,
You call him Tusk?
tusk.
Uh,
Yeah, it has the tusk, the ears. In some cases, they really represent and manifest their facial appearance as an elephant,
Wow.
which is interesting, right? I find it to be very mythical in that sense.
There's a lot of elephants in Indonesia. They kind of like,
Yeah.
they like them over there a lot.
Yeah.
Like that. They praise them and everything.
So it kind of reminds me of like the Hindu culture, like they have Ganesha, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's what it kind of took me to when I saw the description and what it looks like and stuff. So, all in all, a great cryptid. So, what do you think about cryptids in general? Like, given all the cryptids we've done.
You know, talking about that a little bit, right? I'm gonna get a little bit technical here. I just find out that the University of Harvard make a study that supposedly there are entities and aliens and other races, and they even mention angels on that study that they're living among us. And that was a study made by the Harvard University, so it put you in doubt and also believe like we're not alone. You know what I mean? So it could be these cryptids could be part of those entities or whatever.
So here are my thoughts. Given the climate and everything that's happening, there is more and more discoveries of creatures than there has been ever
Mhm.
historically, right? Like for example, underwater creatures that were
Yeah.
never seen are starting to show up. Some even prehistoric are actually still alive,
Yeah.
right? You have parts of the Amazon that's still uncharted territory, nobody's discovered,
Exactly.
that nobody's touched, right? And there's rumors of creatures that exist, and there've been reports about this. So it makes for an interesting case that maybe some of this stuff is not just fluff. Maybe in our minds it's an exaggeration. For example, Bigfoot could be a species
Of
of
an
ape,
Yeah,
right?
could be an
You know,
ape. Yeah.
Sasquatch could be like a different version or iteration of that ape.
Yeah.
Evolution is a thing, and it's been proven. Not completely accurate, but been proven and mostly accepted by society.
Oh yeah.
So I think it makes for a great case. So now, for you guys that are watching the show, if you want to get a free shirt or a free cup, why don't you show them?
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
We got the cups right here. Oh, that's the one with J Rock. That's the one with me. Woo. And we got the shirts over here. The Chupacabra.
Just take one out. Yeah.
It's the Chupacabra right there, man.
Call in. Call in and ask us questions. Give us a shout out.
Feel free to call. We got the phone number on the screen.
Yep.
You guys
We
are
have people on
welcome.
the chat. I don't know. I think some people are afraid to call in.
Yeah, they're afraid.
know?
I don't know. They're shy.
So yeah, we'll gladly send you free merch. Participation for us is essential. We really do like your feedback and just positive stuff, right? So
Oh yeah. You can tell us about your experience. If you ever had a paranormal experience, either aliens, ghosts, you name it. You can share it. You don't have to say your real name. If you don't want to.
And by the way, if you're Spanish speaking, you could call in and speak in Spanish.
Yeah, we
It's not an
translate.
issue.
Mhm.
We can translate there. Okay, but with that being said, the line is there. Feel free to call. And we're moving on.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Where are we going? We're going out of space?
It's that time.
Oh my god, they're coming.
It's time to go.
They're coming for us.
Yes, they are. And this is my favorite segment, right? Because we still have that war going on between two races. So,
The Council of Five,
who would have thought, right? Out of all things, a council of five
right?
would resolve this issue between all universes and dimensions. So,
Only 5 races? Or there's more in the Council of Five?
there is, well, no, there's more in the council of five, but kind of like five control it.
Gotcha.
Five are the builders of it, right? Of course, you have your co-founder that we spoke about the last time, but yeah. So let's get on to it. Alien segment.
Bring it on.
In search of alien. All right. So this one is my favorite.
Which one you got there?
Well, it's my favorite because it reminds me of that movie Mars Attacks.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Dorsey.
Dorsey.
Now, bear in mind that a lot of the stuff I created with AI is how I envisioned it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is not little green men; these are little orange men, right?
Orange.
Now, understand AI has an issue with creating height differences, so I had to use like full model scale. But just imagine this particular alien race as small. They're like a foot tall.
Oh, really?
Literally.
I got
Right?
it.
So a little bit about Dorsey. Constellation Cassiopeia, right? Small alien species about a foot and a half tall, cannibalistic towards other aliens and humans.
Like
Last seen in-
Cannibal?
Cannibal,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
So last seen in 2001 in the Italian Alps.
Wow.
So this one in particular, I found fun, right? Like it's something you could see in a movie, right? But with a little bit more of a horror theme behind it.
I got some info here.
Sure.
It says they have visited the Earth at least 250 times. They come from Cassiopeia,
Yep.
where they have 2 home planets. So I guess they have 2 planets.
They're
And-
that damn good.
Wow.
They got power in numbers.
They eat other alien races as well as humans. Wow. And their race is at least 4 billion years old, and they have been in a constant state of war with another alien species for 2 billion years. Last sight on Earth, November 2001, in the Italian Alps. Wow. That's very interesting, you know.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is indeed. I'm just putting the volume up here.
Those alien, they don't only kidnap you, they can eat you, you know.
Oh yeah. Yes, they can. So yeah. So what I found that interesting is that it almost seems like they're a resource type species. They only care for food and shelter, right? There was other documents online that talk about this specific race, and they're not so much for building relationships. They're not so much for anything. Just I want to eat and I want to sleep.
So they probably destroy, they conquer other planets or something like that, maybe.
I mean,
for
they
their
got
resources.
they
or
got 2
something.
home planets, so
You probably steal the other one, right?
it's possible. I mean, I've never seen any one human being part of 2 home places, right?
Right.
You either born somewhere and that's where you're from, and yes, you have descendancy from somewhere else, but apparently this species has 2 home planets.
2 home planets.
You know?
a lot to think about it.
Yeah. So
That means they're big in numbers. 2 planets.
well, no, so yeah, but they're not big in height,
Yeah.
right? So this goes to show you that this is kind of like the ant colony type situation where they're so destructive in numbers that they can't probably be stopped.
The short people have good heart. You know, big heart like me. I'm sure.
So yeah, this is pretty much the case for this species. It's just straight up. I want to eat. I'm gonna use the word kill, but it's given the alien. I'm gonna kill whatever's in front of me, and I'm gonna survive. And
Wow.
that's what this alien purely is. It's raw, right? So, without further ado,
Let's watch the video.
Dorsey.
Dorsey.
Dorsey, constellation Cassiopeia. Their race is at least 4 billion years old. This species is considered small, but what it lacks in height, it makes up for in manpower. It is a cannibalistic species that not only feeds on humans, but on aliens as well. They have visited Earth at least 250 times. They war with other alien species for resources. Their allegiance is unknown. Last seen on Earth, the Italian Alps in 2001.
Wow.
You know what I say, right? No way, Dorsey.
No way.
It's not happening.
Sounds fancy, right? That
So,
name. Like
so
a,
this is what you call the extremes between the two, right? Because the next
Dorsey.
one is the complete opposite of what Dorsey is, and that is the Magell. Yeah. So their constellation is unknown. Their allegiance is to the Council of Five.
Oh, so
Right.
they're the good ones.
They're good, yes. They're a peaceful race. They feed on rodents and insects. They've been known to be more in South America. So there we go. We no matter what, we can't escape South America, right? So what I like about this particular alien race is that they've been there so many times, right? To do research, and then their own species visits those that are on Earth every 20 years to get updates. They feed on rodents and insects, but they also harvest them for reasons nobody knows.
They feed on insects.
And rodents, so they feed on like rats and mice and stuff.
That's
like
what
that.
they want. They want to do to us. They want to feed us protein from crickets. You heard that?
Oh, I've had crickets
Yeah, they're
in
good.
Mexico. They're really good. I
Wow.
was surprised.
Are you
yeah.
not a Magell? Are you sure?
Possibly, possibly, yeah. But I mean, they're good, especially with like the chili lime flavored ones. They're great, crunchy.
You didn't get me
Tastes
there.
just like chicken.
No. I got some info here on the Magell. It says, known to be a very peaceful race. They have 2 permanent bases somewhere in South America. They are 100% nocturnal. Wow. Do not interact with humans and are described by other alien races as shy. So they're shy.
Right.
You're definitely not a Magell.
No, I'm not. Far from it.
They harvest what you said, insects and rodents. At least 3 of them has been under Brazilian military custody for the past 12 years. Wow. The last site near Osaka, Mexico in 2003. They are
So-
visited by the own kind race every 20 years. The next visit should be around 2016, so that
So
happened already.
you said Oaxaca?
Ox-
I think every person gets it wrong. It's
Oaxaca.
it's Oaxaca.
Oh, Oaxaca.
Yes, Oaxaca.
Oaxaca, Mexico.
Yeah. I had the same problem many years ago, and I had a lady by the name of Maria correct me. She said, "No, it's not Oaxaca. It's Oaxaca,
Oaxaca.
Mexico." Yeah. So,
But there's no H or nothing there, just an O.
so here's what I think. I think this species is partly responsible for civilization, specifically the Mayan civilization, and some of the Peruvian ones. And the reason why I say that is, there's no proof that they did not interact. It could be that they're just avoiding contact with people who know more than they need to know.
Could be, yeah.
So I kind of painted the canvas around South American culture in the fact that they've been to Mexico and Oaxaca, and I just felt like, oh, this is a good segue to really incorporate the Mayan culture.
You've been there, right?
Oh,
You've been
yeah.
to-
Yeah, it is the most beautiful thing. You could go, like, if you go to Chichen Itza or Tulum or to any of the Mayan temples, right? What you'll find is you'll find yourself asking more questions because of the architecture, the design, the the level of detail and intelligence required. So I'll give you an example. So you know that game that they play with to hit the ball with their hip into a hoop that's
Yeah.
on the wall. So those walls, even though they're evenly set in height,
It is behind the wall, or
no, it's not behind the wall. It's the actual side walls, right? So those side walls, they're actually using different sized rocks,
gotcha.
right? But there's a reason behind it, and it's all about acoustics.
Wow,
So imagine that you're sitting, and you got to see this thing is like even longer than a football field.
wow.
So on one end is the throne, and in the other end is the guest, whoever's in royalty or they sit on the other side. If I wanted to send a message, right? Back then there was no telephones.
Mhm.
So what would happen is they would get one of their servants to look at the wall behind the throne, and they would speak to the wall, and that information would bounce and travel. In other words,
Wow.
sound would travel and go to the other side where that person would capture that information.
Wow.
I experienced that firsthand. It is mind-boggling, right? And they were so good mathematically, and not just with astronomy, but they were good with acoustics.
They knew a lot. I
So, like
mean,
for example, there's a chief, I think is what they call it, but his name is Kukulkan,
cool.
right? So if you were to stand in front of the temple and clap 3 times, that sound would travel to the very top of that pyramid inside of that
Wow.
that
The pyramid.
opening of the pyramid,
yeah.
and that
The top.
it would travel back down, and you would hear Kukulkan,
Wow.
and it was like, what is this? But it's just majestic, right? So I think that a lot of that is just way too far ahead. Think about other civilizations around the same time that didn't amass that level of intelligence, that weren't that far off.
We were having trouble with the audio.
Yeah, look at us,
Man.
right? Like, exactly. We had audio issues, episode 8, and these are guys that were masters on acoustics.
Maybe,
So-
right? That's crazy.
So it goes to show, right, that this is a very interesting species. More importantly, I think it's a contributing force. That's my personal belief. But I overall, I think it's a great.
I'm with you. I think you what you're saying is definitely right. I heard a lot of stuff about those temples. They're very magnificent.
Yeah, I highly recommend anyone. It's one of those kind of discussion points, right? Because a lot of people find it very, very challenging,
Mhm.
whether it be for financial reasons or for whatever reason. But it's one of those things that if you could put a checkbox in your things to do, go visit a temple. It doesn't matter if it's the one in Peru, if it's the one in Tulum, or the one in Chichen Itza. There's one in central Mexico. These things are worth looking at because they're tied to a piece of history that at some point these things will disappear and we will never get to see it again.
Mhm.
You know, and I think it's just so beautiful. I mean, you go to that place and it's like you feel like you're in a different world.
Wow.
So, moving forward, Majel, here's your video.
Bring it on. Let's watch.
The Magellan, Constellation Unknown, Allegiance, the Council of Five. The Magellan are a peaceful race of aliens seen mostly as night as they are nocturnal species. The Magellan feed on insects and rodents. They also harvest them for unknown reasons. This species is visited by their own kind every 20 years. It is reported that they have 2 bases in South America. They could have been responsible for the development of the Mayan civilization. Last seen on Earth at Oaxaca, Mexico in 2016.
Nice video.
That was really good.
I like the translucent one.
Yeah.
I got
think- I have this thing, right, for old civilizations and old cultures. It's one of those things you come to learn when you go to places, right? You learn how some locations they preserve their culture.
yeah.
For example, if you go to like Cancun, right, they have these these beautiful theme parks that are built around nature itself, and that money goes to preserving that environment. So when you go to like a place called there's a place called Escaret where you go to this open pool and you swim with the fishes and the turtles, and everybody's in there. Everybody's swimming, but they have like this really huge respect for preserving everything. Any carving, any kind of historical piece, it's like, hey, I almost got in trouble one time. True
Why?
story. So they have these things called cenotes, right? These are like sacred waters.
I heard that before.
So basically, there's like these endless pools of water. From what I've understood, and based on my research, those waters were used to throw the sacrificial bodies in, because that water, when it goes down, there's an opening that leads to the ocean. And that's where everything goes.
Wow.
So there was a beautiful one with this really huge statue of the Virgin Mary, and I look at my son, and I'm looking at him. He's looking at me like, "Yeah, we're gonna jump," and we jumped right on in. And the guy goes, "What are you doing? You can't do that. That's sacred water." Like, I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
well,
wow.
I guess I'm blessed at this point."
You probably, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but again, it's breathtaking. It was amazing to experience, but it was one of those, that's how much respect they had, that they actually stopped me and say, "Hey, you can't do that." That's,
Nice.
you know,
That's very, very nice.
even the water that sits on is sacred. I
They
could have
consider
easily
it sacred.
gotten in big trouble.
We got a comment here from Corrales. It says the Magellan alien should go to New York. There's a lot of rats there. LOL. Wow.
Oh, Coral. Hi, Coral. Hey, Coral. How are you? She's our constant avid watcher and a fan, and she has a son, and he's a fan because he watches the show. So Coral, we'll send you a shirt. Okay. I know you don't want to call, but we'll send you a shirt. All right. Thank you so much for being so supportive all the time.
We have a comment from Jacob Castro. Says coffee is really good. Spinning on it as I've been watching.
So why doesn't he call in? Jacob,
Give us a call, Jacob.
give us a call right now. The number's on the screen. Let's hear you, and we'll send you a shirt if you call in.
Let us know about the coffee.
So yeah, while we're waiting and see if people are gonna call, I think people are a little timid.
People are shy these days. Come on, Jacob. Give us a call.
So
Quae superius sicut quae inferius et quae superius ad pretenda meriquat.
you hear that?
Who said that?
I don't know.
Quae superius sicut quae inferius et quae superius ad pretenda meriquat.
What
Sound-
language is that one?
those are the ghosts.
Oh
They're chanting their evil verbiage at us because they don't like the fact that we're calling them out, right?
If there's a ghost here, please let us know in one knock.
And then you hear it again.
Quae superius sicut quae
I said one knock.
We're getting in trouble. The chairs are gonna start flying, man.
I said
Don't do
one
it.
knock, not two.
All right, it looks like we got a call from Liverpool. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for calling Distorted Realities. This is J Rock and Frank
Thanks.
Walls.
What up?
Hello. How are you?
What up? What up, Jacob?
¿Cómo está, Frank?
Good, good. Todo bien.
Sí.
Good,
Aquí
good.
tomando el café.
¿Cómo está?
How's the coffee? How is it?
Really good. It's really good. Está bueno.
Good,
Good,
good.
good. So, how do you like the show so far?
It's good. I like it. A
Thank
lot
you
of
so-
different, a lot of different cryptids.
Love it. And what do you think about the alien pieces?
Which one?
The alien segments.
I like them. I like them. I like the more earthly ones too.
Oh.
What about the? You said something about a New York beast or something like a cryptid from New York. What was it?
Yeah, there's some swamp ones and some because most of New York, like upstate New York, is woods. There's a lot of woods ones too.
Yeah.
People automatically think the city just for New York, but there's a lot of New York.
So being a former New Yorker, when I say former, I don't live in New York anymore. I was originally born and raised in New York in the Bronx. So I understand your sentiment, because when people say you're from New York, where you're from,
He's like J-Lo from the Bronx.
they say 5 boroughs. They don't consider upstate New York, right? So
Yeah.
I understand your plight when it comes to that. But I love upstate New York. I know it's filled with a lot of lore, and one of them is very common, and it's shared every Halloween. It's Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman.
Wow.
Right? I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
really cool.
That's
So,
from upstairs.
that's upstate New York.
Upstate
That's
New
right
York.
after the bridge on Tarrytown.
Wow.
Yeah, you
We
got to
should
go
do-
there. It
we
is
should
gorgeous.
do a cryptid about that one.
So that's actually not a cryptid. That falls under the lines of
Ghost?
of a ghost entity. There's a story behind it. Guy lost his head. He's looking for his head. He, since in some images he wears a pumpkin for a head until he finds it. But he looks for people, tries to get their head and see if it fits.
It's not, yeah.
So Jacob, so how's the coffee? How does it taste?
It tastes good. Just pretty much straight black. I like it.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
That's J-Rock right there. He like his coffee black with sugar.
Yeah.
So Jacob, I just want to say thank you so much for showing support. We really appreciate you joining on the call. You kind of broke the ice today.
Of course.
We'll send you a shirt. Send Frank the details regarding your shirt size, and we'll send you another mug.
We send you a
Okay.
Chupacabra shirt.
Oh, perfect.
All
Thank you.
right? Thank you. Have a
Yeah.
good one.
Thank you, Jacob. Have a
Bye.
good one.
Bye.
How cool is that?
You see?
See, folks, it wasn't that difficult.
Oh, we got a Corrali says something. Says I'm a little bit sick, but feeling better. Watching your videos. Thank you guys for making some awesome videos. Yay! I'll be happy with anything.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Coral. So let's move on to our favorite segment, which is we get to review stuff, right? So
Let's go. Let's go.
one more time.
Superius sicut quae inferius et quae
Spectrum
superius
Patronum.
et quae
All right, folks, this is our favorite part where we get to review videos all over the interwebs, more specifically TikTok.
TikTok.
Right, so
TikTok videos.
So what happens is that there's a lot of content throughout YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and this is not new, by the way. There's a guy that has a channel called Casper Site, and he reviews these videos. He's amazing at it. We just review them to just see what
Mhm.
what the response is. Some of these things are very creepy, others are
Very scary. some
laughable
of
at the
them.
very
Yeah.
least. But no matter what, it's always entertaining. It's always good to see. Paranormal for us is not necessarily all about ghosts or things that go bump in the night. It could be things that are out of the norm, or abnormal, or not normal.
Not normal.
So, but I think this time we caught a couple of good ones. So why don't we share it and start with video number 1. And guys, in the chat, watch the video. Let us know what you think in the chat.
Two friends are goofing off inside a house when they capture something pretty creepy on camera. One of the friends appears to be doing an online challenge, while the other records him doing it. However, what happens moments later leaves them both terrified. Watch.
Right, do it again because I'm filming this time. No, go on. Go on, right, yeah. How many you got left?
There's only 2 left, so it's,
Right, well, yeah, just do 2 then.
yeah, this is, I'm gonna read some Mentos and then drink, well, it's not Diet Cola, it's Pepsi Max, but there's only 2, so
It's fizzy, it should work. Working?
no.
You should go on, give it a bit. Give it a bit. What's it?
No. What? What? What's up?
Dude.
What?
Dude,
What?
look,
What?
look. Look, let me out.
A rattling sound can be heard inside the other room before the door opens and things fall on their own. Not much else is known about the video, so it's hard to be sure if it's real or not. But regardless, the reaction appears to be genuine.
Freaked me out.
Had they captured something
But you see somebody
paranormal
moving
or
forward,
not?
right, and then that object falls right in front. That was freaky. That caught me off guard.
Well,
I like
what
that
happened
one.
with him and the coffee?
So he was drinking something, and I think that's one of those Mentos with soda things to see if it makes you gassy, right? And he's drinking that, but the guy points the camera at that little opening to the next room. Apparently, it's dark, and he ends up seeing what appears to be a shadow figure moving from right to left on the screen, and then an object falls in front.
Wow.
But it's one of those hard catch. Like, you really got to pay attention to that little opening. I thought that was great.
We have in the chat, we got Daniel Arroyo. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi from Puerto Rico, he said.
All right,
Wow.
PR in the
What up?
house.
What up? What up?
So, let's see the next one. Oh shit! You saw it? The person is peeping from the top of the door.
Right? And creepy ghost sighting.
One of the girls still doesn't see the ghost. She shouts at something that's on television and accidentally startles the ghost away. The girl with the camera follows the ghost as it retreats. The ghost instantly teleports and now stares at them from the top of the steps. The scared girls run out of the house screaming. They stop only for a second to turn around from the street. They can see the ghost girl walking across the left window on the top floor. It vanishes and then suddenly appears on the bottom floor in less than a second. They scream even louder and take off again. Number 2, stay out of the attic. Back in 2008, a man started to notice some strange activities around his house. He would often come home from work to find his dogs cowering under the bed, too afraid to come out. One of his dogs would only come out from under the bed for a brief 10 seconds at most before going straight back into hiding. Something was intimidating these large dogs badly. The owner starts to hear banging noises coming from all over his house. He begins to look around. He eventually traces the noise to his attic and goes upstairs with a camera for a closer look. Everything is completely trashed. Boxes are overturned and clothing is scattered everywhere. Something has violently flung all of his personal possessions all around. As soon as he goes back downstairs, he hears another huge bang and runs right back up the steps. He puts the camera down and searches the empty attic for clues. A nearby metal bucket falls over and he runs out of the room before he gets hurt. Another object hits the ground on its own and the camera moves to the right on its own too. The homeowner was too scared to look at the footage. He waited a week before going back upstairs to get his camera. By now, he is understandably quite paranoid. He begins recording everything he does in his home, and it isn't long before he has more paranormal evidence. One day, his radio turns to static and a spirit orb rushes out the window. Later, someone violently jiggles the doorknob to the door that leads to the attic. The door opens and shuts by itself. The radio goes back to normal soon after.
I'm here, Chuggy. Right? It's like the horror movie. Like, oh, you hear that? Okay, let's go take a look. Don't do it. Don't do it, please.
That's how people get killed in
Things look to be
horror
going back to
movies.
normal for a second, but then a paper towel roll suddenly flies up from the table to the couch, and the radio starts making more sounds again. The video recording starts to get fuzzy too, as if a ghost is causing electrical disturbances by
That's a
passing by.
plus.
Somebody threw a roll of bounty and said, limpia que está sucio. Oh, sweat.
Both of his dogs begin to look in the same spot as if they are following something. Whatever it was, the man was never able to physically catch it on film. He was only able to record its strange and oftentimes violent behaviors. Number 1, Ghoul School. This footage comes from somewhere in the Middle East. A group of teenagers are curiously exploring an old school. They go up a flight of steps and pause when they hear a dog whining on the other side of the door. They all run down the steps and gather at the bottom. They're afraid of being attacked by a group of stray dogs now, but they decide to press on and explore the lower areas. The group finds bravery in their numbers and begins to joke and laugh again as they make their way down a long hallway. They open a door and find graffiti on the wall. Other people had been here before them. Maybe this place isn't so bad after all. The teens grow a little more nervous as they continue to poke around. They are laughing less and starting to go silent. Something just isn't right about this section of the building. A YouTuber named Zabin Jaguar translated their comments. He says at this point one of the teens say that their phone shut itself off even though it was fully charged only a moment ago. Another person was able to keep recording, though they probably now wish they hadn't. They enter one classroom in particular and get a dreadful feeling. Suddenly a figure actually appears out of thin air and walks towards them. The ghost is missing his head, but there's somehow no blood. A loud chanting begins as soon as the ghost walks towards them. but this may be prayers from a nearby mosque. Amazingly, the group all appears to have missed the ghost, which explains why they calmly continue to keep exploring. They wouldn't see the apparition until much later, but when they did, they would never forget what was heading straight towards them in that room.
All right, so that one was from at Top 15 Entertainment. That was very interesting, right?
Right.
We got a couple of videos bundled into one. So let's go back to the first one. I just want to cite the source for that one, let people know where it's from.
Two friends are goofing off
It's
inside a
from
house
at
when they
Chilled
capture
and
something
Disturbed.
pretty creepy.
All right, so at Chilled and Disturbed for the first one, at Top 15 Entertainment for the second one. So let's move on to the third one. I think this one gets better.
We got our information from Wiki and our Wiki, Cryptid Wiki too. So just
So who's asking the question?
no, just saying.
Oh,
Just
okay.
saying. That way,
when suddenly this man sees something that let them completely terrified.
¿Sí? Yo vi, no, yo vi que la puerta que está enfrente suyo se movió.
Esa de ahí, nada,
Te juro que vi que esa puerta se movió.
Mira, lo estaba mirando,
No, chicos, no, yo lo vi con mis propios ojos, yo vi que esa puerta de manera lenta se abrió y luego se cerró bruscamente, chicos.
No le intenta meter miedo,
No les estoy mintiendo ni por mucho menos, por favor, yo le juro que por mis ojos, por lo que más tengo en mi vida, que esa puerta se movió.
De veces es imposible, no hay nada. Así que, y mi gato está abajo, es imposible que se mueva nada. Y estaba mirando, literalmente se ha quedado pillado. ¿Qué le pasa?
Atrás suyo hay alguien.
¿Cómo que atrás? ¡Me cago en la puta!
Just a few seconds after checking the room and finding no one, the door opens itself as a shadow figure can be seen looking at them.
That was good. So that one freaked me out because the guy goes in the bathroom, turns off the light, closes the door opens, and the guy just shows up. And then they spaz out. So I guess the guy's telling him, like, hey, there's something there. Right? Like, you got it. And they think he's pranking them, but he's not. You know what I'm saying? That's creepy. But it could be somebody too, right? Like, I think it's possible that it's somebody there. And
could be his mom watching.
con la chancleta mágica.
Maybe, yeah.
All you Puerto Ricans know about that chancleta. That's the real cryptid. That's the one that never misses.
That's the one. That's like the batarang.
Yeah. All right. So last video.
Last?
Yeah. I didn't see anything.
I'm trying to watch over here in the other screen.
So this video is from @ScaryTikToker. I think that guy literally took us for a ride.
Right.
I mean, it looks creepy. I've driven in circumstances like that, and there's nothing scarier, right?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of that. You ever seen Creep Show, the movie?
No.
There's one called there's a little piece, right, called The Hitchhiker. It's like a story. Because they thanks for the ride, lady, thanks for the ride. And then like she's like, wait, I ain't put you in the car. But that kind of reminds me of that. It said Goat Man, so I figured, hey, so that way you guys know, like we put these videos up, we don't necessarily watch them in its entirety because I want to share the moment with you guys. We want to share the moment with you guys
Mhm.
and make sure that it's something that you can look at. But that was from @ScaryTikToker, and the one before that one
They were on a video call when they saw this. Two friends were on a video.
is from @ScaryVideo786. So, overall, I'm gonna say 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
Now 3 out of 4 is not bad.
I mean,
And we had a twofer because one of those videos had like 3 other videos that we could look at. So what do you guys think?
I think that the first two I think were the scary ones, right?
Yeah. What about the people on the chat? No one in the chat?
They're sleeping. I don't know what's going on, man. I think Jacob drank the coffee and went to sleep.
That's that cocoa blend.
Like, oh.
El Coco. All right. So that kind of concludes our paranormal segment.
Yep.
So no more of this for the day.
If you're here, knock one time.
There you go. You heard it.
Wow.
It's haunted, folks. It's very haunted.
If you like coffee, knock 2 times.
Yes. It's on
Wow.
our side. So this next segment is a really good one. For me, it was more of like a very serious topic. And as we do these Let's Talk About It segments, I'm learning how to really dig deep into the information and try to condense it and share it with you guys, because these are really conversational pieces that I would like for you to engage in either in the chat or in the phone call. But this one is a very touchy subject, all right? And it's about missing people, all right? Very specific, though. These are not your typical missing people reports. You want to grab it? Okay. These are not your typical missing persons reports, right? This is really about things that go bump in the night. So yeah, so there you go. It's about that. Bodies that appear at random and disappear at random, and there's some consistencies around it. But I can't do you justice by just talking about it right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut into the creepy segment, because I think that once you see this, it'll make more sense. All right. And we'll talk about the guy who's taking this on practically by himself.
Where's the ghost, Jacob said?
It's gone. All right, folks. So we're going to go on and play the video. National parks, a majestic place where people from all walks of life go to be one with nature. Camping under the stars, rock climbing, hunting, and hiking is the norm. But what if I told you that there have been numerous sightings of UFOs roaming the parks? Reports of aliens observing campers, and the legendary Bigfoot makes an appearance from time to time. But the one no one wants to talk about is the missing people. Yearly, hundreds and possibly thousands of people end up missing. Bodies show up from time to time, some deceased while others are found alive. The issue here is that national parks don't want to talk about this. And as for the missing persons, they disappear under strange circumstances. But there's a man on this case, and his name is David Paulides. He wrote several books and documentaries on the subject called Missing 411. So let's talk about it. 1 second. I gotta recap that because we had
Yeah.
muted ourselves. Yeah. Sorry, we had the
Thank
video
you.
playing, and we wanted to make sure you heard that, and not us. So essentially, this is something that's happening in national parks, and what's happening is that people end up disappearing, right? And it happens from time to time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, real quick, we just want to do a mic check. Mic check. Can they
My
hear
check.
us?
My check.
Yeah, mic is up. Can someone in the chat answer and see if they can hear us before we move forward? Mic is on.
We can hear you. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
All right, so let's recap and
Yeah.
just go back to it. So the video you saw kind of gives you a bigger explanation as to what's going on. In the U.S., there's a whole bunch of national parks, right? You have, of course, some areas are not necessarily national parks, but they're part of that national park system.
We have some over here. Like,
Yes.
have you seen them?
Yes, we have in Florida, and,
Yeah.
and there's Yellowstone, of course. You have other places. But the thing is, these people end up disappearing under very strange circumstances. Now, I'll give you an example. Me and Frank were doing our own cryptid hunt at the Grand Canyon. Me and Frank are like 5 feet apart. He's behind me, I'm in front. I turn around, he's gone. He shows up a couple of days later, and he has no recollection as to how he ended up there. The other scenario is that you end up finding Frank, but he's unalived, right?
Just my skeleton.
Right? But then you find little strange situations where these people end up, like, their sneakers are properly cleaned and set up in the right place. Their clothes are not tattered and
backpack
torn.
is right there.
Like, typically, if something like that would have happened, you would conclude that, hey, an animal took him, a bear or a jaguar or something, right? But no, there's no indication of this person being attacked. Now, in these national parks, you have to understand there's always sightings of Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, other anomalies that exist, right? But there's a man on the call, and his name is David Paulides, and he wrote these documentaries, 2 documentary movies called Missing 411 and Missing 411 The Hunted, but he also wrote a book called Missing 411 that gets
Gotcha.
published, and it has not only the stories, but a list of people who end up disappearing. What makes this crazy, by the way, is that when you contact the national park,
They don't want to say nothing.
they don't report it.
You see.
And that's freaky. So I can call. So basically, what the protocol seems to be is, you report a person missing, they go on a manhunt, they get people and resources to go and walk the place and see if they can find the person. If they find them, great. If they don't, they drop it there. But there's no database documenting these things. And if there is, there's never been a historical, from what I've read. By the way, this is allegedly, from what I read, that there's no way of them getting that information. So it makes for a crazy case, because it makes you think. An expert hunter who's been going to these things all their lives, all of a sudden ends up disappearing with weapons at that,
Yeah.
right? An expert rock climber. I mean, if they fell off a cliff, that's one thing, right?
That make more sense.
That would make sense. However, you find the body, but there's no indication of animal attack, right? And you could tell that the gear is still working and everything's intact. And then you have other situations where the most recent one was about a child in an area with parents, and the child ended up, like, in hours, he ended up miles away, and they found him, and he looked so different.
At that 1,000 yard square stair.
So basically, the distance from where the kid was reportedly lost to where they found him, given his age and his height, it would be an impossibility for him to end up there and on his own volition, because he had to climb mountains and climb rocks and for a child of that age, I can get more information, and we could probably make like a little special on that. But more importantly is the guy David Paulides. He used to be a sheriff, and he used to deal with law enforcement. He wrote a book on Bigfoot. He was a big Bigfoot
Fan.
not a fan, an enthusiast. Right? There's a
Enthusiast.
difference.
Yeah.
I need people to understand that. Like, there's people who study this stuff. It's called the study of cryptozoology, which is not just limited to the mythological creatures, right? It's animals that used to exist that no longer exist, but people think they still do. For example, the Tasmanian tiger, right?
Yeah.
So you got a comment?
No, it says good now. Noel Castro says good now. Jacob Castro said, "Oh, that was me." Noel Castro Jr. says laughing. I don't know. They have like a joke there.
So with that, they end up he ends up writing this book, and he starts questioning what's going on.
So now that you're saying that, where do you think we can fall in that category? Are we an enthusiast, or we are cryptologist?
No,
What are we? What are we?
For us, I don't know. We don't have degrees in this, and we're not necessarily studying it for the sake of actually going places and
Yeah.
let's see if we could find the Jersey Devil, right? Like, I don't think I'm gonna do that anytime soon.
No.
But there's something intriguing about cryptozoology, right? But segueing back to David Paulides, he's not giving you the answer as to what it can be. Even though, like, when I hear his conversations and document, I feel like he knows something that we
Of
don't.
course, if the guy was a sheriff, there's something he knows about this.
So the thing is that it kind of reminds me of the slogan, right? Which is discuss the unknown and discover your truths.
Mhm.
He's presenting the facts, and he's letting you decide what you think the truth
But
is.
there's a reality that we don't see out there because we're so busy with our daily life. You know what I mean? But next time you go to Walmart, pay attention at the entrance.
Right.
There's a big wall with a lot of kids and teenagers and people that is missing, and it's a whole wall. It's a big wall full of pictures of people that are missing. So just think about it for a moment. Where are all these people? Why are so much people getting missing here? You know what I mean?
So you could conclude, right? Because there is a case about a kid who ended up being found. He was reported missing, but they found him not too far away, drowning in a fountain, somewhere. And it was related to college and stuff like that. But this is not one of those things, right? Because we can, for example, in some states you can identify that as human trafficking, right? People end up missing because they get abducted and they get sold. It could be for organ sales, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, the people that pay the most for this is children, right? And it's so sad because they get stripped from their parents and their loved ones, and they're forced to you're forced to not know what happens if they don't ever get fined. And I believe that you only have 72-hour window to really figure this out
Yeah.
and crack it. If not, you're probably never going to see that person.
You
again.
can report it. And the thing is, you have to in some places you have to wait
24 hours.
24 hour or 3 days. 72
72.
hour. So it depends. That also give an advantage. Let's say somebody kidnap a kid or whatever. No, I know we have the Amber Alert here.
Right.
Some other places they don't have that. So you have a window to report. It's kind of crazy.
But this specific case, David Paulides, missing 411, I think there's something else going on in these national parks.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's a cult or a cryptid or some kind of, it's like the old saying, like, hey, there's that law of equivalent exchange where maybe you go in and they, some people have to disappear, right, in order to maintain some balance, right? There's
Maybe.
also rumors of portals, people disappearing and ended up in a different space.
Could be that all these, that study that I mentioned earlier about the Harvard, whatever, they were talking about cryptids and stuff. Maybe they have them in those places. Maybe they live in those places. That way they're away from people and they can keep it a secret. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And then when they're hungry, let me eat a human.
It's possible.
You never know.
So all in all, I thought this was a great piece. I thought that you should, if you're interested, go watch Missing 411 and Missing 411 The Hunted, right? Which is The Hunted really deals with professionals, hunters, people who do
Gotcha.
this for a living,
That-
and how
that-
they
that
end up
end
missing.
up getting lost.
Yeah, not lost. They end up missing.
Wow.
Right. Which is There's one story about a gentleman who's a hunter. He's been hunting there for 20 plus years, and out of nowhere he ends up missing. But his partners, the people that he goes with, they were really close by in close proximity, and they still couldn't figure out how he ended up missing.
Wow.
So it's just very strange, very interesting, and I thought I'd share and make that a discussion piece. So you could always answer in the chat, or you could send us an email at contact@thedistortedrealities.com, and we can make this like one of those audio podcast pieces where we can get callers in and talk about it. But kudos to David Paulides, because this was a very interesting story or subject to discuss. And that kind of ends our segment for creepy stuff.
Creepy?
Yeah, creepy.
That's creepy. I got a comment here from Noel Castro Jr.
Yeah.
It says there was a recent sighting of a Tasmanian tiger in the U.S.
That's
Wow.
right. I actually saw the video. Yeah.
What is that? I never
So
heard of
so
Tasmanian.
it almost looks like a dog, right?
Well, that's the one that has like lines.
And then
in
it
the
has
tail?
stripes in the
tail.
back half
Yeah,
of
like
the
that.
body.
Okay.
Right. That's from Australia.
Wow.
Right. That's called Tasmanian tiger.
But it was supposed to be extinct, right?
Right.
Extinct.
What was that?
Extinct.
It's supposed to be extinct.
Extinct.
Yeah. So but they're starting to see it again. So it's to Noel's point. You know, what we say, science fiction becomes science fact. Sometimes the things that are lost in time are just not visible until the right conditions are
You
met.
see?
Right? It's like the plesiosaur, or what we call the Loch Ness monster. The plesiosaur has been reported to be sighted on lakes and rivers and oceans, and now it's becoming more and more discussed. Until people posted videos of it not too long ago.
Jacob says that we believe in Bob Lazar.
Oh, that's its own special case.
Yeah.
I love Bob Lazar's stories.
Shout out to Bob.
Yeah. I mean, he spoke about Area 51, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's very interesting. About the spaceship and the Roswell and all that.
yeah, I mean, this guy, he came out on Joe Rogan a couple of times already and
Yeah.
spoke on it. And I mean, why would a guy just keep talking about the same thing and lie about
I think
it?
he's saying the truth.
I think he's saying the truth.
And remember, whenever you think that sci-fi is not real, just think about this for a second. In the old cartoons of Inspector Gadget, right? The little girl used to have a book that was a computer, right? Was a book, was a computer. Now we have laptops and tablets. So, and they used to talk by the watch. Now we have the watch.
Go Gadget watch.
Remember? So
that's the original iPhone and
Yeah.
iPad and
Yeah.
iWatch and all that stuff.
And when I was a kid, I never thought we were gonna have that technology, and look, we have it now. So
And you see it in Star Trek, and you see it in and a lot of this stuff is really transcendent, and it goes back to my belief, you know. And I really want to segue into this before we sign off, because we have our 7 o'clock section, audio. We're gonna talk about Werewolf Legends. So 7 o'clock. But to segue into that is anything you see today, anything you've ever purchased or brought or handed over yourself, a shirt, socks, you know, these things were first thought of before they became created. Anything that has ever been done must first be thought of. Science fiction becomes science fact. That's what that means, you know. It all starts with the mind and how you perceive things and how you envision it. And it's just a matter of time and proper placement and the proper things to fall into place for these things to come to light.
it's like this podcast. We thought about it first, and then we make it happen, and we're here now. you know?
Yeah.
And
So-
we counting on your support.
Right. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching. Just remember to share it with your loved ones. Remember to like and subscribe. Click on the bell icon for notifications. And again, we appreciate your support. Please continue to watch. I think that we're getting better.
Oh yeah.
Each time.
We're like the wine.
With the exception, I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail today's episode, but we had put a little joke, right? Like, I think I got the audio right, and then somebody said, "You better get it right," right? But it's been fun, and we want to thank Jacob for calling in and for breaking the ice. You know, we had Sam do the Hatman interview, and we want more of that
Pocholo. We
stuff.
have Pocholo with it.
Right, and he spoke about La Gálgola. of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So there's more things happening, and it's getting better. And yeah, we'll hit some blips along the road, but that's what makes this great. That this is real, right? It's real time, so you get to see everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you get to be part of it. So I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, and I look forward to seeing what next week holds. And you want to sign us off?
Yeah. Thank you for everybody that was in the chat. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And thank you for watching the show. And see you next Sunday. And remember, at 7, we're gonna have an audio podcast. Okay. Shout out.
All right, folks. So with that, we'll see you next week.
Take care, guys. Thank you for the support.